Let's install some reels. So getting ready to get started on our fab area, and 3 things that we need: somewhere to doo-doo, somewhere for air and electric. And what we'll be hanging is the 3/8 by 50-foot air hose reel and the 65-foot 12-3. So with that, I've got a 1/4-inch plate here that we can use to mount to the shelves, and we can mount the reels to this plate here, and that's what I'll use to doo-doo. So we'll be using the hydraulic punch and the pump in order to punch these holes out in this steel. So let's get started. Stainless steel Pro Bond open face tape measure coming in at 59 3/4. Oh, and that magnet quick lock, that's pretty nice too. This is a super nice square here. So we get this squared off, and then we'll mark it at 59 3/4. Sweet. That'll work. So now we need to get some holes punched in this steel, and we'll be using this hydraulic pump and the hydraulic punch and seat here. So this is so much easier than drilling. So we'll just slide this 1/4-inch plate and get it lined up with that punch and press the button. How easy was that? And we'll repeat. All day long with this thing. No problem whatsoever punching through that. But you can use this for many different applications. You just get these little bullets left behind. So now that we've got the 4 holes punched out, we'll go back and transfer that to the shelving so that way we can bolt this piece on. So now we need to temporarily hold this plate up, and I'll be using strong hand 8.5-inch F-clamp. To have a 5-foot piece of 1/4-inch plate hanging over my head, I definitely trust the strong hand rail here. So now I need to drill some holes in this stock here. We'll be using this 115-piece cobalt drill bit set. So this is a 2-flute design here, round shank on it, M35 cobalt. Love these things. Well, that was a challenge in itself, but it's behind us. So let's get some things mounted. So I've got the mock-up template here on the reel, and we're looking at Mingle's pressure washer reel and Beaver's electrical and air hose reel. So the way I've got this marked out is this represents the stock that's up there now, and these are the legs on the shelving. So what I'll do is I'll center each one on that area, and what I'll be using is the Picket Master Pro, because this helps to find the center very quickly. So the time involved with looking for the center mark with the tape measure, it's not that much longer, but when you start taking that mark and then transferring it over to what you need to drill, that's where the time saver comes into play, because you can actually just tighten this up and lock that mark in, and now no matter what you're transferring that to, it's going to be center every single time. But Picket Master Pro, you can get this in all the way up to a 12 stack here. And so that scenario would be, we got 20.5, so we've made our mark at 10.25 here. And so from that point, we can use the Picket Master Pro to find our center very easily. So we put it on both sides of it, and that center point will be right there every single time. But that goes much farther when you start looking at transferring that over, because when we look at the diameter of this stock here, if we want to center these 2 or 3 bolts here, we can then take that, lock it into place, and we can transfer it over here onto our piece to find out where do we need to have our bolt holes. Well, we're pretty close on these 2, but if we open it up just a little bit, and same idea, now we go back and tighten that up. we can use that to verify that that's plenty of room. And then in addition to that, we can use that to mark our hole locations where they need to be drilled. So that was much quicker than remembering tape measure and dividing by 3. This always will have its purpose, but for these items here, Picketmaster Pro is where it's at. So we need 12 5/8 for our center point. How cool is that? So I've got everything on its final layout marked here. My goal was to have these 3 as level as possible. And when it came down to, finding our centers, checking our marks, transferring that to the reel, and then transferring that back to the shelving, this right here, Picketmaster Pro, I've never used one before, but this right here was so much easier to be able to find those centers, mark, and transfer. But this right here is a super awesome tool here. So now when you get these, holes drilled that are on the shelving, and then we'll be ready to mount these here. And I got a couple of holes inside here that I'll need to drill also. So a couple of drill bits later, we should be ready. So we've made some progress here with getting the plate mounted to the shelves. We've got our holes drilled for the appropriate items. We've got the back side of each of those opened up and drilled out, so they're ready to accept hardware. But I'm not sure which one's a sung hero, if it was the drill bits or the 6 amp hour lithium ion batteries. Both were winners in this situation. So let's get these hung unlike me. Mother sucker. So that's a wrap for that install. So now we got some fine tuning and adjustments to do, but then we need to go back and plumb all this. So we'll be installing Telon's separator and dryer system here. So this is a 4-stage system. That's what we'll be doing next, is installing that as well as plumbing it. And then we'll follow that up with plumbing the garage with multiple ports with the, PEX tubing here. And this is the 1/2-inch setup. So thank you for following along. And what I'll do is I'll put a link down below in the description for any of the tools that I used today. Just a quick recap, the 3 different reels that we used to get those hung. And then we used Strong Hands, F-clamp, the rail clamp. We used the Picketmaster Pro center finder, the ProBond stainless 16-foot with magnet tape, and as well as an updated framing square here that gives you, a lot more options than an old school, square would do. And we use the, Allen head hex coming from Toolit, that's standard and metric, and we use that to be able to fasten the hardware in, as well as a 115-piece Cobalt M35 drill bit set. Pretty sweet setup here, but you can check the link down below for any of these items that we installed today, and we'll be following up with a part 2 for the install here, as well as a part 3, getting everything plumbed and in use. So in the meantime, the 3 are hung. So what we got to do now is just follow up with the plumbing of that. But that's going to be so much nicer just to be able to pull that reel out and get rid of the trip hazards at the garage floor. So thank you much for following along, and let's go on to the next one. So at the end of the day, we are one step closer to the fab area. I'm loving it.